In this video I'm going to work through question 6. The first part of question 6 asks us to name our cells rather than using cell addresses, which we've used up to now. So cell addresses would be, an example would be A10 or $C, $4, and so on. So instead of naming them according to their cell addresses, we're going to give them meaningful names. So for example, looking at the table here, which basically has a list of suppliers, products each of those suppliers sell, and the units of those products, and finally the price per unit. Basically in this table here, there's a certain amount for VAT, so obviously this amount we could name it VAT. Similarly, we have values for units. So we have a column of values for units. So for example, 1 washing machine, 4 hair dryers, 2 laptops, etc. We also have a list of prices for each product, and then we're asked to work out the total and the total plus VAT based on this. So first thing we're going to do is copy this table into our Excel sheet, as always. For some reason that's not working. Copy. Okay, paste. Now, first thing we're going to do after that is name our first cell. So we're going to name the VAT cell. Now this is a one-off value which is normally used right throughout the worksheet or the table or whatever. So it's going to be used probably many times in various formulae. So if you like, it's a constant value. VAT doesn't normally change, you know, in terms of the calculations we'll be doing, unlike say price per unit, which will change according to whatever is being sold, the product being sold, and the supplier. Okay, so VAT, to name off something, to one off like that, we click on the 23%. Just make sure not to click on the VAT, as that doesn't mean anything. On the VAT cell, click on the 23%, and in the name box at the left hand side, type in VAT and press enter. Make sure to press enter. Okay, so now that cell with the 23% in it has been named VAT. If for some reason we had another VAT, that VAT, say an old VAT or a current VAT or whatever, we would have to name it something else. So VAT 1, current VAT, total, or whatever. So just make sure to name it differently. Now, the next type of naming we're going to do is we're going to name these values here, which we're going to be using in subsequent formula. So the formula is going to be obviously to get the total for each product, plus the total plus VAT for each product, in taking into account that there's a number of units for each product. So to do this, we select the whole table. We then go to formulas and create from selection. Little dialog box appears, and we're looking to create names from values in the top row. Okay, so we want to name units, price per unit, total, and total for total plus VAT. Okay, so we deselect the left column and we press OK. Now, because the first two columns really aren't relevant to our formula, I didn't have to select those, but it's not going to make any difference to our to our formula. Now we can check clicking on the name manager. So this is all from the defined names panel in the formulas, using the formulas tab, and you can see there that it has a list of these names now. VAT is a one-off, okay, it's just one address, while the rest of them we have basically a range of addresses. Okay, so basically from, in the case of units, it would be from C4 down to C13 and so on. Okay, so we can close that. If we needed to delete or edit any of these, we can do it from here. Next thing we want to do is use these names in the formula. So to get the total, I mean it's a pretty simple formula. We just multiply units by price per unit. So now instead of using, for example, in this case it would be C4 multiplied by D4, we use the names, so units, and it's handy because when you put in the first few, type in the first few letters, the actual name will normally pop up. So it has this little icon beside it, so then we know it is a named cell other than anything else. So double click on that, and then we multiply that by price per unit. So in this case, price. And again, just remember that we click on the price per unit with this icon here. Be careful not to press on anything else that looks similar. So notice that even though we didn't specify this, we didn't have to type this ourselves, price per unit, or because there was a space or a backslash there, it automatically puts an underscore between the two words. So it's never going to just leave the space there or the backslash or the whatever else that's there. So it automatically converts that to backslash. Okay, so press enter and we have our, what we'd expect. So it's going to be 306, considering there's only one unit of washing machines being sold from All Electrics. Now we can drag this down and use autofill and fill without formatting. Now you should notice here that we need to format correctly. So even if you're not told that in a question, it looks a bit strange not to have it formatted as currency, considering that's what we're dealing with. So we can use the shortcut there from the number panel, or we can go to format cells, and either use accounting or currency and choose our number of decimal places from here, and also our whichever currency we're using. Now to get total plus VAT, again the formula itself is relatively simple, but just remember, if you're asked to do this in a test, you need to use if you're asked to use the names, then you need to use the names, or you won't get the marks, even if the formula is correct. So here it's total. Again, don't have to type the whole thing. Total plus, well, what we're doing here is just adding on 23% onto the total, what the current total. So it's total multiplied by VAT. Okay. Notice here we don't have to, multiply by 23, divide by 100, or even multiply by 23%, or multiplied by F1, which would actually, we'd have to convert that to $F, $1, considering it would be an absolute Z address. So all we need to put in there is multiply by VAT, and that gives it to us. It's also much easier for someone, looking at the formulas in this table to see exactly what's happened, what's going on, and what we're doing in terms of our calculations. Right, so we can drag this down using autofill, and we've got our table completed. Okay, and finally we can just get the total there by just clicking on AutoSum. Okay, so that's us done for that part of the question.